My name is Brian Williams. I'm the owner, as well as my wife, and operators of Grateful Roast Coffee. We roast coffee in a small market in northeastern Pennsylvania. We have a little bit of wholesale, but it's not a huge market. And as a business, we are more concerned that the vibes fit, before we sell coffee. Our concern is selling coffee. Like, we're not really money motivated in the traditional sense. It's more about making sure that we keep together the culture. So I'm sitting here with Mike, who's the homie. He's been coming into the cafe for a while now. He's a local business owner, and he's a hell of a cool guy. So I'm pretty stoked to have him here as our first guest on Spilled Coffee. Mike is definitely a cool, interesting fellow, and he's been doing a lot as an entrepreneur lately. And it's a cool story of somebody who, just jumped in and made it work. And so I can vibe with that. And so I hope you could vibe with it too. So Mike, thanks again for joining me on our first ever interview podcast. Very, very stoked to have you here, Mike.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Grobinski. I own Kraken BoardSports and Krypton Design. Grew up in Harrisburg. Have a whole bunch of family that's from the area up here, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, the whole just general area. And then did all the things in Harrisburg and moved up here to go to college, and then ended up with a business. And now I've got a warehouse full of things, and we make stuff. And so I'm here.
That's awesome. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. You're from Harrisburg.
Yes.
And you are an avid snowboarder. I would say you're an avid board sports.
Yeah, we kind of got into that in like a weird way. So growing up in Harrisburg, not the snowboard capital of the world.
Sure, it doesn't
especially
seem
in
like
southeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a snowboarding mecca.
So yeah, actually I had a snowboard up here at Jack Frost Big Boulder. I think I was in 7th or 8th grade.
Sick.
And I was really bad. Like, bad to the point that I'm surprised that I stuck with it as long as that I did. But then we just kept doing it, and it was fun, and decided to be a snowboard instructor when I was in 11th and 12th grade, which was a pretty cool job in high school. We didn't really make any money, but getting paid to snowboard, even if it's minimum wage, is still awesome. So I did that, and then went to college and kept doing it, and here we are. I've been taught snowboarding for a while, and now I make snowboard stuff and work with Red Bull on occasion, and
so crazy.
Just doesn't always seem real.
No, totally. It doesn't seem real. It seems like you just kind of like snowboarded your way into a career.
Yeah, it's wild when I think about it. I'm like, how do I know all these people? And it's like, oh, like snowboarding and wakeboarding. Like, oh, all right, neat.
So at Kraken, and that's how I initially learned about you, is through your Kraken board sports. You make, I guess, what are called skate blocks.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of products at Kraken. Unfortunately, skate blocks sort of like, I don't want to say tapered off a little bit, but
it's still cool as hell.
It's
dude.
really fun.
That's
so
what
with
got
that
my
one,
attention.
well, that was an idea I had right after I graduated college.
Okay.
Like they brought us in, because I went to engineering school, so I have an engineering degree and whatever that means. They brought us in to consult with this guy that was building foam houses in Germany.
Okay.
I'm like, I didn't know what was going on, and I was 21 years old, had graduated 3 days ago, so I had a hangover. And I'm sitting there, and he's talking about how he cuts the foam and make it whatever, and all I could think was like, I wonder if you could skateboard on this stuff. And then, well, it just kind of ran down that path, and turns out you can.
So the answer is yes, you can skateboard on it.
So then we talked to a couple of different people, and I had got all kind so the problem we had to figure out was like, it's foam. How do we make it hard enough to put skateboards on? So I found a bunch of companies that put coating on it, and I got some wild prices. The one was like, I talked to some company in Vegas, and they made one that was like machine gun fire resistant to coat foam. I'm like, that seems cool.
Yeah, because we all get shot up all the time when we're skating on our...
I got the price for that. I was like, nope, that's not going to work. I had a day job at the time. I made airplane parts, which sounds really cool, but it's kind of boring.
What do you mean you made airplane parts?
Well, I had a job. We made the part that holds the fire in the engine in jet planes.
The part that holds the fire in the engine. So that seems like kind of the most pivotal part of the entire process.
But it's all you do is take really expensive round stuff and make it into different shaped, really expensive round stuff. And I was the engineer overseeing some of that.
I don't even know. I can't even.
Neither do I, really.
It's pretty dope.
But anyway, I'm sitting at this job and thinking, and then I just randomly emailed this company in Florida, and the guy emails me back. I'm like, that sounds really cool. We should do it. And they make spray-on coatings.
Okay.
And long story short, they ended up making one for us. We sent the sample down and sent it back, and it showed up, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to jump out on my skateboard, and I'm going to ollie, which for those that don't know is when you jump off the ground on a skateboard. And I did that and immediately cracked it. Like first go just didn't work at all. So I was like, all right, guys, that was super cool. I really appreciate it. Thanks. But like it didn't work.
Yeah.
Which, hey, whatever. And the guy's like, no. Like how didn't it work? I'm like, well, it did cracked and did this, that, and the other thing. He's like, all right, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna schedule a call, and like at this point, I don't remember what day it was, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, some number of days later.
Okay. With
the president of the company and their head of chemical engineering and like all these important people at this pretty big company in Florida. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna figure it out. Okay. So we did, and the chemist is like, yeah, just give us like 3 weeks and send us another sample, and we'll do it, and we'll send it back, and it'll work. That's confident, but cool.
Cool.
So they did, and they sent it back, and I was like, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm not even going to mess around. I'm just going to hit it with a hammer and see what happens. So I did, and the hammer, like, flew off, and I almost hit myself in the face. Like, all right, guess we're in business.
Sick.
So we ran with that for a little while, and we actually have a patent on the process now.
Oh, nice.
We cut styrofoam and essentially spray it with, like, rhino liner, truck bed coating.
Okay, sure.
Kind of the idea.
Like the what you spray in the back of the beds?
Yep.
All right.
And then we ended up driving to Florida, like from here to Clearwater, which is like Tampa.
Sure.
Straight through to pick up the first piece, which was a quarter pipe.
Can you explain the quarter pipe? Because this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just the whole idea. So they're called skate blocks. And so they're made in sections. And so he goes to pick up a section in Florida, and it's a quarter pipe. So what is it? What are the dimensions of this quarter pipe?
So the quarter pipe, it was about 3 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and probably, I don't know, 6-7 feet long.
Okay.
And there was no coping on it. So with the quarter pipe or the skateboarding, when you get to the top of the ramp, there's like a metal tube that lets you know you're at the top of the ramp, basically. And so that wasn't there. So we brought a piece of pipe and just kind of laid it in the top of the ramp. Now, I hadn't slept for like a day and a half because we just punched it straight from here. And they're like, "Were you going to skate it?" Like, right now? Sure. So I climbed up on this thing and drop in the middle of their like manufacturing facility. I was like, all right, that was terrifying. Glad we did that. And then loaded it on the truck.
And it worked. You didn't fall through it? Or...
I mean, at that point, you were just kind of rolling down it, so like that wasn't really a stress test.
I mean, all the same, that's like the inaugural drop.
Yeah, I didn't go through it. Like, if it didn't work, I would like dug my front wheels in and flipped over and put my face in the concrete.
So the first test is a success. That's awesome.
we called it a success anyway. Got it back here, and like all the skate friends were like, well, let's play with it. So we just chucked it off like the balcony of my apartment in South Wilkes-Barre at the time. Like I have a video of we just launched it over the edge and it like bounced off the ground. Like, it's still in one piece. Cool. Because the cool thing is, since it was made out of foam, the whole quarter pipe weighed like, I don't know, maybe 65 pounds.
Sick.
Like building out of wood, it's like 200.
Right. You can't move those. Dude, I've had so many friends, my brother included, with like sick ass half pipes in their backyards, and when it's time to move, it's like a process.
Well, so it's funny you mentioned like half pipe mini ramp, because we definitely made the wrong choice of the first product to go after.
Okay.
And we decided, yeah, we're going to make a mini ramp that goes together like Legos. Now, mind you, we had made the first one, and like, yeah, it worked. We had no idea how we were connected together. We had no idea how to make the thing.
A mini ramp, like a half pipe?
Yeah, like 12 by 20, couple feet tall, 3 feet tall, like a little mellow beginner ramp. And yeah, that was dumb. Because we made all the pieces and it just didn't fit together. Like the seams were terrible. We put the
Oh,
seam in the wrong spot. The connection. We ended up ratchet strapping it together, and like it kind of worked, like a little bit. But I think that was sort of like kind of a hit to the ego
okay,
of,
sure.
oh, maybe we're not as good as we think we are.
Great idea, though.
So it kind of went from there. Is like the skate stuff was cool, but we realized that we were never going to make any money with it because you try and sell a $1,500 quarter pipe to a bunch of skaters, and you're like, well, I could go to Home Depot and make one for like $100 in lumber.
Right.
Like, oh, this sucks. Like, we're never gonna sell these things. And then we realized, like, wait, they float because it's foam.
They float because they're foam.
And I'm like, oh, we're in wakeboarding too. Like, this could be really cool. So then the next thing we're like, well, let's make a jump, like a floating jump, and it worked. Like first go.
Sick.
Like, oh, all right. And the nice thing is in that industry, there's not a lot of companies that make floating features, floating, they're called features of wakeboarding, floating jumps. And the ones that do, they're like commercial use and they're like small boats. So they cost $10,000, $15,000.
Right.
And we were looking at, like, we can make one for like $2,000. Like, and so we did. And then we made those, and then we made some floating rails, and we actually have a smaller lake out in New Jersey that we go to in the summer, and that's where I kind of do a lot of my testing. And there's
Nice.
a 40-foot rail that we built sitting in the back of the lake,
A 40-foot rail
like
in the
so
lake. Floating in the
floating
lake.
in the water. And
Sick.
that, again, it was cool, but the problem we ran into was the 40-foot long slider rail, whatever you call it, it was 40 feet long. How do you move these things?
Right.
They're not heavy, but they're not easy to transport. And suppose somebody buys one in like California, how do you get it there?
Right.
You don't is the
You can't put those
answer
together
we
like
came up
Legos
with.
too.
I mean, you can ship it, but now you're talking about like buying a whole flatbed, and suddenly you're.
Could you like kind of put them together like they do handrails? Like
Well, we did, but in 20-foot sections.
on 20 foot.
Yeah, so because the thing we found out was putting it together was the hard part. There's a couple videos of when we connected them together and the boat went by and I jumped off the rail and then it came apart behind us. Kind of kept going with that for a little while, and we've done some interesting things with it. And it's still there. We have all the machinery at the shop to make them. But what it came down to is the machine that sprays the coating is temperamental, if you will. We don't really use it enough. So we would spend like 2 days trying to fix it every time we wanted to make these things, and it just started to become more of a drag. You're like, well, this is cool, but it turned into like every time we sold one, I got like anxiety. Like, I don't want to do this.
Okay.
Because, you get to the shop like, all right, is the system going to work today? Are we going to clog something expensive? Are we going to blow a line out? But it came down to just, all right, we got a lot of other things we can do that don't make me stress all of the time. Like, let's do some of those.
Okay, so I'm gonna call you out there because I know you were just now getting off like a pretty stressful job. So what are you doing now? Right, like tell us about Kraken kind of it exists there, but you have something else going at the same time.
So the other side of the company is Krypton Design.
It's Krypton,
Krypton, like Superman.
like Kryptonite.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was no story behind that. We just thought the name sounded cool.
It's a sick name, dude.
Same thing with Kraken. There's no story behind that. It was like, that sounds really cool.
Well, that kind of came back. I'm just saying Kraken because that's a sea creature, and now you actually build sea creatures.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty
the
dope.
connection is there now, but we
Yeah.
did not. There was no thought about that to start. So yeah, the project we just got done. Well, it's actually going on today still. Today was the last day of the festival. We built a lot of the lighting, the skeletons that hold the lighting up for Ultra Music Festival in Miami,
Okay.
which is currently today still happening. That was wild because we got the call from the client and we started kind of doing the design work and the quoting and kind of figured out what we were going to do in the beginning of February.
Okay.
And we didn't get a official go-ahead PO, like, okay, order the material, start doing stuff, until I think it was like February 20th. No, it was Valentine's Day. So we had 3 weeks to do about 6 weeks of work.
Sick.
So all the tubes showed up. We have some fancy machines at our shop that are unique to the area, what they do, and that's why we kind of got the job. But yeah, I had like 18-ton of steel tube show up at my shop. I'm like, okay, here we go.
So you showed me a picture. It had something to do with the lighting. It was
Yeah, so there was a bunch of video tiles that
video tiles.
it was like a light show or like the
Okay.
background of the main stage when they were the logos or the bands or whatever they wanted to show. So we made all the stuff that held those up. It was everything was the last minute, and
It all
we
came
were
together though.
flying by the seat of our pants. And I know I talked to a couple other business friends, like the tube shut up. I was like, all right, time to find out if I'm as good as I think I am, because this is a lot. But
That's
we got
something.
it done. I mean, I think it took like 10 straight days of 16s. Like I was just disappeared from the planet for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you came into the cafe and you're like, yeah, I just took this job and I'm planning on disappearing now. Nobody's going to see me because I'll be working all the time to get this thing done. So you're telling me that like these jobs are kind of leading, one is leading into another. So with what you're doing, which is, I think just like, if we were to describe it, it would be like metal fabrication.
Yeah, it's a little bit of consulting and then a little bit of fabrication. So they come to me with these jobs and they don't necessarily know how it's going to be made or what to make it out of. And just because I've kind of been around manufacturing and making stuff for so long, I can say, okay, well, we're going to make this way and this way, and we're going to send this here and that there, and that's going to Maine and that's going to California. And I kind of turn into the ringleader a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah, we do some of the fabrication in-house, but there's also a fair amount of just sourcing things.
Sure. So like kind of like a project manager of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, project manager. It's always fun when people ask me what I do, because I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't, I don't really know how to describe it. Consultant seems like the best way, but
Right.
depends on the day.
But then you're finding yourself in positions where there are these really unique things that need to be created, and then.
What we've built is the ability of like, okay, the way that I did that job may not have been the most efficient way because there's machines that are faster, and I have places that have those machines, and we could have done it with less like brute force.
Sure.
But given the time frame, the only answer was brute force, and yeah, I was okay with that. Like, well, here we go.
Sometimes you just have to make it work, you know?
You get a lot of that. Yeah, we do a lot of jobs that I don't necessarily know how I'm going to do at the time. I just know that it can be done, or I think I can do it. Then I sort of figure it out as I'm going.
That's awesome.
And it's happened so many times now, or I'll be sitting in the shop and just like, what did I do? Like, what did I get myself into? And then you just, that's
Yeah.
probably not great for like stress levels or.
So it's like that Talking Heads. This is not my beautiful house. How did I get here?
Yes.
It's incredible.
And then it's done. And you're like, huh, yes, that worked. Now, what's kind of fun, and like, I share all of the mishaps and the broken tools and when stuff doesn't go right. And
Yeah, he has a hell of an Instagram.
post on Instagram like, wow, this is great because it's,
Yeah, all of a sudden you have like 50 stories that show up of this really interesting thing happening and then going wrong and then rectifying and then wrapping up. It's something else.
yeah, hey, I mean, there's kind of like everyone thinks it's all sunshine and roses. It's not.
Yeah,
Nope.
everybody. Yeah, I guess we make it look easy, but it ain't easy. Yeah.
No.
And people find that out real quick.
Few and far between are the days when nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
A couple of our other business friends joke that my real business is crisis management because everything seems to be last minute. Like, we need this tomorrow.
So with the market that you find yourself in, you're taking orders now from companies that the delta between the rough origins of being like a board rat to where you find yourself now, it's like night and day.
Well, it's funny because I could almost trace it back to everything came from wakeboarding as it would be. And I can trace it back to like one event of how this all happened. So like the other product, to go back to Kraken a little bit, the product that we do sell quite a few of, and that's how that company makes money, is a winch. So it's kind of like the same thing you would see on the front of like a Jeep,
yeah.
or a truck. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
But mine's gas powered and goes 30 miles an hour.
Sick.
So yeah, it pulls
That
you
was real
for
loud. I'm sorry if
for
I just blew you out at home.
it pulls you for wakeboarding or snowboarding. So like if you want to go wakeboard or water skiing off a boat, this is what you would use. And because of that, we've done all sorts of.
So you guys developed that?
we didn't invent it.
You developed
It was
that.
out there. I wanted one, and
Okay.
I was in engineering school, and I had a machine shop and a welder. I didn't know how to weld at the time, and I just sort of made one, and it sucked, but it worked. And then just decided, hey, this would be a cool thing to spend the rest of my life on, and then we started making them. But we graduated engineering school. We thought we were awesome, and no one could tell us anything otherwise. So we were going to radio control this machine and make it have like a remote control throttle on the engine and all this fun stuff, and we kind of did it.
Oh wow! So
But
you could actually be a one-man show.
exactly, which it turns out is a horrible insurance liability because it's bad. Through a friend, he was like, "Oh, you should go to this event in New Jersey called Wake Off. Like it's like the biggest thing ever." And like I'm like, "Yes, biggest thing ever. I'm important." Like, mind you, the event was in like 2 weeks. So I called the event manager, whatever you want to call him, he's not one of my best friends. And I was like, "Hey man, I've got this thing. You should let me come." And he like didn't really know how to react. And like this conversation was like 10 years ago, so I don't remember exactly how it went, but I remember like he was very unsure. And then he was just like, "Yeah, why not? Just show up." And so we did, and we met some people there who we talked to, and in short order realized that the remote control idea was a terrible idea. But met some people, and that led to more wakeboard business in Alabama through someone I met there, and then that led to building features in Alabama for wakeboarding, and then that got me to Texas somehow, and like all of this pretty much from going to that first event. And again, now one of my best friends who was like, "Yeah man, why not?"
That's sick. That's so sick.
So what the way the fabrication sort of started to happen is, I taught myself how to weld mostly through YouTube and asking people and just friends, and learned that and learned how to design stuff and make stuff. And then we're kind of like, oh, we're really good at making stuff. We should sell that.
Huh.
And then that's kind of how the Krypton business came to be. Is like, oh wait, we make stuff out of metal that doesn't have to be wakeboard. It can be anything.
Right.
Let's just do that too.
That's it.
So yeah, then we ended up with a warehouse and slowly but surely acquired equipment, and now I've got plasma cutters and water jets and lasers and stuff that makes big metal into small metal.
So that's incredible. Just such an evolution. I grew up in a blue collar home. My dad, a sheet metal worker, and he's worked at shipyards my whole upbringing. So just having that, I smell welding metal right now. You know what I mean? So it's cool to have that connection too. So yeah, you had also invited me to Vind, which thank you very much for that. At the SBC Brewery, shout out to SBC. They do this board jam once a year, something.
We call it Ale Jam.
Ale Jam. All right.
So yeah, that was interesting. So first of all, I've been doing this event we've been doing it for 4 years now officially, and all the years I was like, I need a coffee vendor. I need someone. And then I walked in here like last year. I was like, we're gonna be friends, and you're gonna come to this event like a year from now. And you did.
And
Great.
I came from such a snowboarding background. Like I grew up in Portland, Oregon. So like I have Mount Hood in my backyard. I used to go snowboarding at Timberline Lodge every weekend, and I skateboarded, my whole life. So like that connection between skateboarding and snowboarding and coffee and craft beer, it's like very much alive. So like you kind of when you came in, you completed that circle.
Yeah, the way we got there was interesting because so I found out, I think I was a freshman in college, and realized that you could just go to like these ice rinks and pick up the Zamboni shavings, which are like snow cones.
Okay.
And you can snowboard on it. And we're like, this is cool. So we did it like at a friend's house a couple times, and then in my backyard and their backyard.
So that's how you get your snow?
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
You get your snow from Zamboni machines?
Yep. Comes from the ice rinks. The guys over at Toyota Sportsplex on Cole Street, and then Revolution Ice Center up across from the brewery. They're
shouts out.
Yeah, they're Greg at Toyota is the man. He has helped us out so many times. But so we kept doing this and just for fun, and then the business started, and I was like, well, let's use it for marketing. So we did the first one in my business partner's front yard, and we just had some friends there, and like we had like a picnic table, and we were using the winch to pull us because that was the promotion. And so then the next year we had a warehouse up in Dallas at twin stacks, which may or may not mean anything to people listening to this, but it was a space. And we're like, oh, we should do the rail jam there. So we dumped all of the snow. We could trucked it all up there and dumped it in the shop, and then we snowboarded and jumped out the front doors. We had a big 20-foot rolling bay door at the shop, and we were jumping out of the shop, and this is awesome. So we did that 2 years, and again, it was just for fun. It was I don't want to say invite only, but we kind of.
I mean, I wasn't there, so.
It was a little sketchy or a lot sketchy, so we tried to make sure that anyone that was there knew what they were doing.
Right. Sick. That's so cool.
And then we sat down with business advisors in I don't know, early year 19, I think it was. They're like, you guys should do this for the public. And we're like, huh, never really thought about that. So we're like, where can we do it? SBC would probably be cool. So we set up a meeting and just walked in. We're showed them a video we did at the shop. Can we do this here? And they just said, yeah.
Sick.
Wait, just yes? No further questions. Just yep, go for it. So that's what we did. And then 19 was our first year, and we pretty much had the best day ever for it. It was 45 and sunny, and a whole bunch of people showed up, and we actually caused some traffic problems because we blocked off the parking lot and no one could park anywhere, so they all parked on the street by SBC, and it was blocking the road. It became a whole problem.
Oh man.
But yeah, it was fun. And so the deal with that is we dump the snow out. We've got vendors, food trucks and people selling stuff, and then we snowboard till it gets dark because then it freezes and it's terrible. And then we went in, and we've got 3 bands that play, and it's a super fun time, and everyone just has a party.
It's incredible. NEPA, man.
So yeah, we did that for a couple. Obviously, 2020 didn't really work out because of the whole COVID thing. But then we did it 21, 22, 23, and it just seems like it's an ongoing thing now. Quite a lot of work, but it's a good time.
So do you think that that side of the industry is going to trend kind of, because we're going to see maybe snowfalls totals are going down? Do you think people are going to get more creative and doing jams and things like that? So
there's already a lot of fake snow options out there. I've been on a bunch of them. Some of them are great, some of them are not great. Really, people are just going to go further north or out west where the snow actually is, because no matter what way you go about it, it's really tough to simulate something that is actually snowboarding without it just being actually snowboarding.
Well, I want to know about the homies, because you got a pretty solid crew of people that all these things are kind of manifesting with. So there's for instance, your buddy with a half pipe in his backyard he's a cannabis
pharmacist. Yeah, weed
pharmacist.
Weed pharmacist. Good guy. Good friend of mine. Went to college together.
And he also does kayaking, but not like my kayaking. He's charging waterfalls and shit.
Yeah, we've kind of built this wild group of friends that we're just all nuts.
It's incredible.
And he's cool because he's just yeah, do this. And then I'm okay. So got a snowmaker at his house, and he blows snow in his backyard. And of course, I like to build snowboard rails, so his backyard is just all of my free thoughts and ideas. Here you go, this is yours now.
Dude, you set up a playground of snow toys in the backyard.
And yeah, he was like, hey man, we should build a mini ramp. And of course, I have all access to CNCs and stuff, and so I drew one up in CAD, and we put it together, and surprisingly it worked. The flat bottom on it, for those that I'm not sure who knows about skateboarding, who doesn't, but a mini ramp, you've got 2 kind of quarter pipes, and you go like this, back and forth. The middle is a little short, so it's a very fast ramp, but it works. It's fun. It survived. You're going on 2 years now, so that's always a good thing.
Are you putting skate light on it?
We did put skate light on it last year.
Okay.
So last year, well, gator skins technically, not skate light, but they're all the same thing.
All right. So is there a particular life lesson that you've learned just going through the past, so many years of being an entrepreneur, that you think would be beneficial to anybody listening that might want to take a little bit of what you've gone through and apply it in their own day?
I think you just gotta go for it.
Full send.
Just send it and figure it out while you're going. And that's terrifying. Don't get me wrong. And maybe not the best advice, but if you're gonna do it and you really want to do the thing, just do the thing.
Just do the fucking thing.
And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, and I've got stories of when it hasn't worked out, and then you fix it. You don't know if you don't do it.
And it's scary. It's Especially
Yeah.
if you're doing it on your own. Like it's different if you've got like safety nets all over the place, but like if you're really hanging out there, it's a hell
Well,
of a trip. And it's cool that you're coming with the first of all that you have such a good background that you're able to apply what you actually did learn in school to your current profession. You know,
yeah, we got super lucky with that. I just kind of grew up around like making stuff. I was taking cars apart. I was like 16. Built my first car. Just power tools, and really didn't know what I was doing.
sick.
But
You built your first car?
yeah, well, in the way that a 16-year-old does,
Sure.
I pulled a 1984 Mercury Capri, which is basically a Fox Body Mustang,
Okay.
out of a family member's backyard, and it was all crusty and rusted and didn't really run right, and it was missing parts, and did all the body work, didn't really know what I was doing, sanded it down, got it painted, pulled the motor out, rebuilt the motor more than once because I didn't do it right the first time. And yeah, I still have the car. It hasn't ran for a little while because I had a fuel leak, and I just don't have time to work on cars right now.
Well, it's not that it's not running because you don't know what to do with it. You're just
Well, that's the
yeah,
that's the worst thing is I know exactly what to do. I just don't want to do it.
I hear it. So where do you see the company going?
I mean, I hope we keep getting into wilder and wilder, music and festival builds and just general push the envelope.
Yeah.
We're slowly but surely turning into more of like a bespoke manufacturing company. I mean, if you want like a plate with 4 holes in it, I'm probably not your guy. There's 4 other shops that'll do it for cheaper, faster,
Right.
whatever than
Right.
me. But if you want this thing that it needs to be done tomorrow, and we don't really know if anyone's ever done it before, yeah, that's probably what you come to me for.
There it is. Creatives creating things.
We did kind of fall off a little bit on the social media pages with both Kraken and Krypton. I just got so busy doing other stuff, but they're out there. So on Instagram, it's designed by Krypton and Kraken BoardSports. But they haven't posted for a little while because I should probably hire a social media manager. That's a whole other conversation.
And what's your at Instagram?
I don't take myself very seriously. So my Instagram handle is GnarBob-ShreadPants.
Big up NarBob. So look for GnarBob-ShreadPants on Instagram and join in the shenanigans. And Mike, thanks so much for pulling through this morning and doing this on such a short.
No, for sure.
Yeah, dude, super appreciated, and it's been cool to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more. And yeah, dude, looking forward to knowing you for quite some time, bro.
Yeah, always happy to be here.
Thanks a lot, brother.